Cheers to adulting.
Hi, I'm Ashley Barajas.
And I'm Abby Rosemarin.
And we're joined today by Shannon McFarland, who is our budgeting expert. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi there.
So Shannon is Skyping in. We're, really moving up on our technology.
Moving on up.
So this budgeting episode is brought to you, firstly, by the coolest fucking shit I've ever found at a New Hampshire liquor store. They're test tube shots. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I've ever had a test tube shot before. Mm-hmm. If I have, I'm too drunk to remember. So test tube shots make me think of Miss Congeniality. And that scene where they're out partying at some bar or whatever, and Miss Rhode Island is confessing to Sandra Bullock that she stole Satan's panties.
Okay.
So to Satan's panties.
Yeah.
L'chaim.
Cheers. L'chaim.
Toast. That's dangerous.
Yeah, that's deceptively good.
And then on top of that, we're also going to be drinking a white sangria courtesy of Shannon's suggestion. Toast to you, and it's got some fresh strawberries in there.
Cheers. Little party foul.
We just poured sangria on her front.
Well, more in my lap, but it's all good.
Better you than me.
Apparently that test tube hit me hard.
So today, we're going to be discussing budgeting.
Oh.
So obviously, so many thanks to everyone who voted on Facebook and Instagram for picking our topic for today.
Right. Thank you for doing the work for us.
Exactly. And so Joni commented when I was asking people to vote on this topic, Joni, my mom, she was like, oh, well, this will be interesting. Yes, snide comment, Mom. There's a reason why we have a guest. Yeah, obviously, Abby and I, we're not ashamed to admit that it's not our forte.
I would not be winning any budgeting prizes anytime soon.
So before we get in the thick of it, we're going to talk about some adulting struggles or triumphs that we did this week.
Yep.
Do you want to start or do you want to go second?
You know what? I will start.
Oh, wait, yeah, you were raring to go.
Because this happened today, and I feel like I was in a romantic comedy movie where, like, all the shit just goes wrong, and it's like, no, that's not real. That things don't happen like that. And, like, no, that was my life. So my story involves chicken poop and the garage.
Oh, wait, how did it... Okay,
so
go on.
So it started with, we got somebody to come and spray the perimeter of our yard for things like ticks and mosquitoes, because ticks are really bad this year, and, whatever it takes. But the problem is that right at the edge of our yard where the forest begins and where they would be spraying is where our chicken coop is. And so for those who don't know, I own 2 chickens in this little chicken coop because, yay, living in the boondocks,
and
you
when
can do
I'm
things
lucky,
like that.
you give me a poop nuggets.
I'll give you so many chicken butt nuggets.
I want more butt nuggets.
I will give you more butt nuggets. I have like about 3 dozen butt nuggets right now. It's ridiculous. Those chickens have been
Devil
productive.
Day party.
I'm in. I'll provide the butt nuggets. You provide the devil? What? Anyway, so we couldn't have them in the chicken coop because basically we'd be spraying poison right where they live, and then I'd have dead chickens, and then I'd have no more butt nuggets.
But dinner.
Well, I don't know if I'd want to be eating poisoned chicken. Like, you don't know. That and egg-laying chickens are not actually really all that meaty. They're actually on their twilight years, so they're probably got stringy meat. Like, that wouldn't really be a good meal. Like, I wouldn't want to lose
if you covered in, like, Frank's hot sauce.
Well, I guess, yeah, you put enough hot sauce in it, and it's perfectly fine. But then I would lose my butt nugget buddies.
That's
like,
true.
wait. Buggies. Anyway, so we didn't have any other place to put them. We're like, well, you know what? We'll put them in the garage. And so basically you just have to keep them away for the first like hour or two of the spraying, and then it's dry and you can take them back. And since I'm a yoga teacher, I get to go home sporadically throughout the day. And today was one of those days where I had a good chunk of time between my afternoon class or my early afternoon class.
So chicken poop.
We're getting there. So I knew one of the things I was going to have to deal with was chicken poop when I got home. We'd had a tarp laid out, and I was like, okay, hopefully they just poop on just the tarp. But it was only on half of the garage, so I'm like, I'm probably going to have to deal with all of that. And so I get home, and I let the chickens out and all that lovely stuff. And, of course, there's poop on the tarp, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to take the tarp out and kind of hose it down and what have you, and then I'll deal with the poop on the other side. But I was also thinking, you know, it would be really nice if I also cleaned out the garage itself in terms of like sweeping out old dead leaves and the sand and what have you, because we really didn't do that after winter ended. And for those who own garages that cars actually go into, that's actually a thing where you drag in the salt, the dirt, the dried leaves. It can get a little nasty. And so I was like, okay, well, you know what, I'll get the broom out. And I put the broom on one of the posts in the garage, and I watch it immediately fall into the ground. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't even want to deal with that. So I'm getting the tarp out, and I hose that down. I get back. I'm like, all right, well, time to sweep. I pick up my broom and immediately feel something squishy. Oh, yes, the broom had landed in chicken poop. And I'm staying calm. I'm like, okay, this is disgusting. But we have a hose in the garage hooked up to water. I'm just going to turn that on. I need to spray down anyways. I guess I'm spraying down now, and I'm going to spray down my hand as well. Problem is that I learned that the hose that we have in the garage, even though it's like on its little like perfect little holder, like it's perfectly spiraled, it shouldn't be a problem. It's a cheap piece of shit and was kinked to hell. So no water was coming out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do I have to like completely unravel this? And so I'm trying to completely unravel it one-handed because the other hand's covered in poop. And this is when I'm realizing we have just all this stuff around the parameters because we've been finishing our basement. So a lot of the stuff that was in the basement, we kind of put into the garage, but also on the perimeters because, you know, we still want to put our cars into it. And I'm just getting pissed off. Like this is how I lose my temper. It's not over one little thing, but it's over something bad happening. And
about
then
a
like,
shitty situation?
Yeah. A very ching, basically, and being like, oh, here's the solution, but then I can't do the solution, and then when I try to make a solution for the solution I couldn't do, I hit more obstacles. That is when I see red. That is when I'm like ready to punch walls. And I was like,
That's like me when when a necklace gets tangled and I'm trying to unknot it.
and that is tough because then you're like, I just want to break the necklace then because screw this shit.
I'm not wearing this fucking necklace.
I hate everything.
Fuck this chicken shit.
Right, exactly. I'm feeling too chicken shit to fuck this. I don't know. Anyway, and so I was getting legitimately pissed off, and I was like, I have to walk away from this because I'm ready to kick something, and let's not do that. All those years of yoga, that would be really sad. The yoga teacher who's kicking walls and stuff, and I have to walk away, go outside, use the outside hose to rinse down, and eventually I unravel the hose. I clear out enough so I can unravel the damn thing, sweep the garage, hose it down, wash my hands like 5 more times when I go inside, and felt victorious because I was like, I survived the chicken poop. I survived like just being so frustrated and feeling like I couldn't make any solution, like no solution was working for me, and I didn't like kick the walls so much that a hole would have been created. So huzzah for that. Maybe 7 years of yoga has actually helped out. And then actually when I got here, I got a text from my husband telling me that he noticed how clean the garage was and he thanked me for it and gave me all like kissy emojis. And I'm like, well, there we go. Like I'm a 5-year-old kid. Like, you know, give me a little gold star and tell me you're proud of me. And then I'm like, yay, thank you. It's all worth it. But yeah, that was my situation. I was just thinking, I'm like, if that was in a romantic comedy, like that is what like Sandra Bullock would be dealing with in like, I don't know, Miss Congeniality 2, like trying to deal with like cleaning up the chicken poop, and now she has chicken poop on her hands and the water's not working, and what is she gonna do? Hijinks. So I was trying to think of it that way. I'm like, I'm in a shitty
You could
romantic
have
comedy.
like turned it into got a sword and took it all Legend of Zelda. You know,
with like cutting the poop.
no.
or-
So like with the so in Legend of Zelda, for all the people who played it, there are always chickens in the games.
Oh yeah.
And you like hit the chickens with the sword.
Oh, I wouldn't want to hit my chickens they're relatively nice. For chickens, they're not like the ones that you see on Facebook that they like give hugs and stuff, but like they're nice and they give me butt nuggets. So I'd hate to be like, and now I hit you.
Well, then if you hit them enough, then all the other chickens flock in and.
well, I do have Nerf swords. Maybe next time.
Cheers to Adulting does not condone violence against any animal, except Zelda chickens. Screw those things.
But anyways,
We don't condone animal
Yes,
cruelty.
please do not hit
Only
your
in
chickens.
video games.
Exactly. Please do not hit your chickens or any other animals with swords, Nerf or otherwise. And on that lovely PSA note, tell me about your adulting.
Well, mine's much shorter, per usual. So last week on Friday, I clocked out with 46 hours in my work week. But I somehow managed to clean the kitchen. I made a dish for the oneg at Temple for Friday night. Took care of some laundry. And then after a long, event-filled weekend, I managed to go climbing at Rumney on Sunday. And my body's super sore. But yeah, that's my adulting.
It's a much more badass, less chicken shitty like situation. I want to say, like, I think you win out just in terms of like overall adulting. Like maybe my story was more involved and maybe like more like fit for a romantic comedy. But if given the choices between like some overtime and going to go rock climbing, dealing with chicken shit on your hands and no way to wash it off, like I feel like I would choose the first one.
Shannon, you want to tell us about some adulting or non-adulting you've done this week?
Yeah, sure. So a shout out for one of my favorite local nonprofits. I'm on the board for the Southeast New England Climbers Coalition.
Oh, yeah.
That makes me feel like a super adult whenever I'm sitting in a meeting for a nonprofit board talking about boring like paperwork and voting on things. But ultimately, we're a whole bunch of climbers who just want to climb and make sure that the outdoor areas we care about are taken care of. So it's definitely one of those, like, for a good cause, and, I feel like an adult.
You should talk to them about cleaning up hinterlands.
Yeah. That's it. That's my adulting.
Well, that is some awesome adulting. Everyone did much more productive stuff than I did, I would say.
You worked overtime.
They're
I feel
just
like
long days.
any minute not dealing with
What? Pat has something too. Oh, did I not talk about
you
this?
did not tell me about
okay.
this.
Oh, wait, I thought I did.
I don't think you did.
Oh,
actually.
okay. So
we actually saved something for the podcast. Oh my god!
Thank you, Pat. So for people who've listened to the podcast or know me, I did a 6-week fitness competition, and it also included some like clean eating diet. Christy McKenzie created the fitness program. It was called Stronger by Spring, and I won. I won. Yeah,
That's
I was
awesome.
very good about saying no to desserts and to candy, which was my biggest thing. And I lost like 10 pounds and some
Nice.
inches. I forgot the inches. I don't care.
I mean, what woman cares about the inches? I mean, really.
It's how you fit into things, right?
Exactly. It's all about how it's used.
Yeah, pretty much. I fit a little bit more comfortably into some of my clothes, so that's nice. So, yay! That's my adulting. Yeah.
Rock on.
Fuck yeah. Rock on.
Hey. That was a rock climbing joke.
Like that you felt like you had to point that out.
The best puns are the ones that you have to blatantly point at.
So, Before we get into the most important person who knows more about budgeting, me and Abby are going to give what little we do have to contribute to the world of our advice.
And it's very little because we're terrible at
very
it.
little. Before I actually get into it, if y'all didn't know or you didn't listen to our last episode, we now have a Patreon account. Yeah, so that means you can help fund our ability to keep this podcast free, to take some of the strain off our empty pockets,
True.
fuel our drinking habits.
Enabling.
Yeah, so you can give as little and as much as you want. And so we have some really fun bonuses for each level. So our $2 level, aka our adulty-ish adults, you get a shout out on our podcast. Our $5 level, aka our adult-like adults, you'll also get a shout out as well as our undying gratitude. Our $10 level, aka our adultier adults, you each will get a turn to pick our shot and or drink of the episode. Our $15 or more level, aka adulty as fuck adults, you get to dare Abby and I to do something on the show.
Within reason,
Within
y'all.
reason, yes. Do you want us to do the electric slide? Electric slide? We'll fucking do
Or
it.
the electric side. I don't know what that is, but I'll do
Want
it.
us to sing a duet from like Beauty and the Beast? We'll fucking do it.
Boom.
You ask it, we'll most likely do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But if it involves two
Inhibitions?
girls
What's
in one
that?
cup, no.
Yeah.
Just
no.
no.
No. So if you love us, please, please, please donate if you can. Any corrections from last episode that you need to make?
None that I can think of. No. I mean, that's the beauty of talking about yoga. I'd like to think I know my shit. So none that I know of.
Awesome.
I can definitely start. So budgeting is definitely really a tough one for me. I will be the first to admit if there's any budgeting going on in the house, it is very much thanks to my husband. As I've mentioned a time or 5 at this point, I'm in a very codependent relationship. And I guess in this one, it's probably more dependent because he is the one who does the budgeting and he's like wicked good at it. He's got the Excel spreadsheets out and it's wonderful because I do none of that. And I just kind of smile and nod and he'll give me the heads up when he's like, hey, be extra careful with, spending and what have you. And because we did this and this bill. And so we're running a little tight with money. It's like, okay, awesome. Thank you for you being on top of this because I'm not. But one of the things that kind of helps me stay in check, especially when it comes to the fun expenses, because I'm definitely one of those death by 1,000 paper cuts type of people where I buy the little things and I don't really keep track of it because whatever, it's $10 here, $15 there. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I just spent $150 this week on like random stuff. One of the things that helps me is that both my husband and I, we set up what we call fun money accounts. And they're basically little offshoots of our checking account. And it's completely no fee for us. So as long as there's like a direct deposit, there's no fee. And I can't stress enough, if you have a situation like a savings account or checking account where there are fees, like get out of that, get into a credit union, do something. But that's for another time. That's a banking podcast, not a budgeting podcast. I know, right? That might be a dry podcast. I don't know. But what we do
We'll
is
just fuel it with alcohol like we do everything else.
Like everything else, we'll make it interesting with booze. But what helps us, or especially helps me, is that the fun money account, where what we do is both of us, we just put $20 every week, goes direct from our checking into that fun money account, regardless as to whether or not we use it. And that's kind of our attitude. It's like, well, we will just put $20 away for whatever frivolous thing we want. And frivolous means it's not an adulting thing. It's not groceries. It's not bills. It's not oil changes.
It's for drugs.
It's for drugs, obviously.
Duh.
Mad
tequila.
amounts. And lots of tequila, of course.
That's my idea of fun.
Right?
Drugs and tequila.
Or, things like, say, skydiving tickets. Like, Like me and Ashley might be, or not might be, will be doing this summer. It's just a question of exactly what weekend we're going to be doing it. But things like that, where, you know, I saw a Groupon for skydiving. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do that. And I was like, okay, let's just check the Fun Money account. I've got the funds. I got the funds. Let's fucking do it. And that's kind of my thing, is where I make sure before I get anything, I just kind of check the Fun Money account. And the nice thing is that 9 times out of 10, I'm not really spending all that much money on stuff. So that $20 a week really starts to add up. And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I can drop like $150 on skydiving tickets. What's up? And that really helps me. And the other thing that really helps me, and this is kind of dumb, but it's Apple Pay. And I should also mention, I'm not getting paid by Apple to say this. I love Apple Pay, and I love the places that do Apple Pay. One of the reasons is I always have my phone on hand and I don't have to pull out my wallet.
I use Apple Pay a lot.
Oh yeah, Apple Pay is wonderful. And one of the nice things is that then you get this nice little notification on your screen telling you exactly how much you spent. And I feel like that can really help me in...
So to tack on to that, so I've dropped my phone countless times, so many times. I've had it for like 4 years. I've dropped it face down countless times. Ass up. Yeah. Anyway, but finally, last Wednesday, it finally shattered. It was very sad. And I was like, I'm not about to play, chicken with glass shards. So I got a new phone. However, the phone case that I had for my iPhone had a wallet built into it. And I didn't have a new case for the phone. So I would leave the house and I'd be like, fuck, I can't go shopping or anything because my ID, which was, driving without my license, and my debit card were there. And I went to the store and then I was like, oh, shit, I don't have any money. Oh, I Apple Pay. My phone, I could pay with Apple Pay.
Nice.
I was like, thank you, Apple Pay.
Right? It is a wonderful thing, and it makes me feel so like I'm in the past when I'm in a place where it's like they don't have Apple Pay. And then I feel like such a putz, because they will have the little kiosk thing that you can tap against, but you can't tap against it because it's not like picking up. Yeah. So I'll just come up to it, whatever place I'm at, and just like tap against it, and nothing's happening. And I'm like,
Market Basket. I always have problems.
Market Basket, Shaw's for me. I've noticed that they're supposed to be able to take Apple Pay, but it's like a little iffy. Like the little machines don't.
I'm
really
always
care
like,
for it.
first world problems.
I know, right? Like, oh my God, this is such bullshit. It's not, my cell phone can't pay for this. Like let's, all right, check myself a little bit. But you do feel like a little bit of an idiot being like, I'm tapping my phone against the thing. I feel like such an idiot. But for me, it really helps because sometimes when you run your credit card, yeah, you have your receipt, but you're really not paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. But if you get those little notifications, and I like to keep them up, especially until the end of the day, sometimes even until the end of the week. And then all of a sudden, right there, for someone like me who is afraid of Excel spreadsheet, or at least avoids it unless she absolutely has to use it, it's really nice to see, oh, here are all my expenses all up front, and I know exactly what I'm spending. So those are the few ways I meagerly budget. How about you, Ashley?
All right, so I want to tell you, if you don't know about mint.com, it's amazing. So mint.com is the fucking shit, and I'm not even getting paid to say that. So the website helps you manage all of your accounts and your spending habits. So you can connect everything from your bank account, 401k account, like if you're making payments on a car, you can connect that to there, all of your debit card, your credit card, everything. So not only can you see all your debt lined up, FYI, mine's depressing as fuck, you can also see your assets.
Show me your assets.
Oh, you're so corny. So you can also set up a budget in Mint, which is really awesome. So I will say Mint worked better for me when I had a desk job and I sat at a computer all day, because all of my work was so freaking easy. So I would have time to like dedicate looking at Mint, evaluating all of my spending, and looking regularly. So now it's a little more difficult. But anyway, so you can set up a budget on there and you can say how much you regularly spend on each category, whether it's gas, whether it's groceries, whether it's pet stuff, and say this is how much you spend in a month. So I'll get a email and I think sometimes a notification because I have their app on my phone. It'll say you've exceeded your budget, or you've spent an unusual amount on this. And then sometimes it'll also be super judgy, but also in like a good way. Like it'll say
It's your sassy gay friend who's calling you out.
Exactly. It'll say, you spent way more on alcohol and shopping. And I'm like, okay, bitch, calm down. Like,
What are you doing?
don't you fucking tell me what I can and can't do. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. So I have to go about it. And sometimes it can't categorize certain spending stuff like Cash App, which I use often to like send Michael money or get money for babysitting or whatever. I have to go in and specify what category that is. I also can say when certain bills are due. And if I log into Mint, it'll say, this bill was due. Have you paid it? And you have to put it and you'll say how much you paid. Like if you paid more, if you paid what it's due or whatever. They also give you a free credit score every month, which is nice.
Ooh, that is nice.
Especially me, my credit score is it's not terrible, but it's not as great as it could be. But they'll tell me why my credit score is what it is. And they'll say what I can do to make it better. Like you're overusing that, or your credit score is kind of young. And so I really like that. When all is said and done, my biggest budget tool is Michael.
We have that in common.
Yeah, so I definitely codependent. I wish I was way more independent, but I won't lie. He has access to my Mint account, so he'll be like, can you update it? Have you logged into it? What was this that you spent money on? Did I see an Amazon box? So, when all is said and done, there's kind of, don't be ashamed if you have to have help, whether it's from a partner or like a parent or like a best friend that you're not too embarrassed to see your financial transactions and to call you out on your shit. So yeah, that's my thing. And then now for what we've all been waiting for. Shannon, give us your wisdom, your kind words. And then, of course, we apologize in advance for interrupting you to ask questions and to insert humor here because we try and keep this a comedy podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking me on. Yeah, so I definitely agree with Mint. I think it's a phenomenal tool. I've used it for credit checks and for really tracking my spending, and absolutely have enjoyed using that. Another tool kind of in the Mint vein that I totally recommend.
I feel like I should be taking notes. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean,
it's a podcast you can refer back to.
Yeah, exactly.
if only we were recording this conversation.
I know, right?
Like,
Yeah, like you could just like play it back.
wouldn't that be amazing?
I know, fucking magic.
Yeah, so Ashley, record this. Personal capital. It's not being paid to say that. It's a favorite tool. It's a lot like Mint. But one of the things that they do really well in personal capital is not only looking at your debt and your spending, the money that's going out, but the money that you're accumulating. And they put
What's that?
Your net worth, which is, if you're like me, have student loans, or if you're someone who has like car or house or other kinds of, or credit card debt, your net worth is usually in the negatives.
Oh yeah, mine is.
Oh, yeah.
Faux show.
Yeah. But it's nice. The nice thing about tracking the net worth is you can over time see your net worth increasing or becoming less negative, and really see how you're improving overall. And so instead of tracking month by month and seeing, do I have money in my checking account or not, you can see, am I overall month by month in the long term doing better, which is really motivating for me. I find net worth and personal capital, like Mint can feel sometimes kind of negative or judgy, but personal capital feels kind of motivating because I want so much to have more in the bank, to have more savings, to have a positive net worth, and have $1 million and retire young.
Yeah.
Right?
Duh.
Living the dream with that one.
Yeah. So what questions can I answer?
I mean, I feel like if we knew the questions, we'd also be not so shitty at budgeting. Like, we would know the right steps. Like,
So I'll tell you a little bit about kind of how I think about budgeting and kind of my philosophy behind it. So I worked in a brokerage firm and helped clients with their investing and investments, kind of retirement stuff. And that's really when I became, I think, a personal finance nerd. And the two of those sources that I really love, two bloggers, one of them lives in Vermont. They are the Frugal Woods. They are amazing. They lived in Cambridge, which is a pricey city.
yes.
Saved a ton of money, bought a house that they now use as rental, and then moved off into the woods and retired young with their children. Wonderful story, true. They wrote a book, beautiful. The others is Mr. Money Mustache.
Mr. Money Mustache?
So great, Mr. Money Mustache.
I feel like that is definitely a title for a porn.
Oh, yeah.
Mustachians. And both are in the vein of financial freedom and really kind of the retire early or really do what you want with your life and have more freedom generally. And I really identify with that because money is really, again, it's just a tool to doing what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are two sources of inspiration for me. And through kind of my education, my work, and the reading that I've done online and in books, I really developed this idea about budgeting as kind of a spectrum where you have some people who are the spreadsheet side, where they're tracking every single transaction, really looking at it kind of on that micro level. I'm a little bit more of a visionary. I think about it on the bigger level, and I really try to focus on my priorities and what is it that I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm trying to get to a life where I'm not tied to a job. I'm not forced to staying in a job I don't like. If I want to quit, I can. If I want to move, I can. If I want to be in a better house, I can. And you can do those things because you've saved up the money to focus on your priorities, whether it's vacation or, being able to have the freedom in what you do for work, which is a big thing for me.
So say, for example, I mint is my thing. Isaac is Abby's thing. Say people they don't even know where to start. Absolutely, they're like, what the fuck is budgeting? Where would you suggest that they start? What's the first thing that they should do?
Yeah, so I think Mint is actually a really good tool because it has a really easy onboarding process. You sign up for an account and you don't have to, if spreadsheets feel scary, it walks you through adding in each of your accounts. And for some people, I know for me, just figuring out adding up all of my accounts together and really consolidating and seeing a good mindset on that, or personal capital, which does a very similar thing. And looking at where am I overall, all together, adding up savings, retirement accounts, health savings accounts, all those little different accounts that you've forgotten about over the years, and the debts that you're automatically paying on, but maybe have forgotten about as well, and not really looking at, and figuring out, how much do I really have or how much do I really owe? And the first step is to put it all in one place.
Yeah.
And the next step, after you put it all in one place, is try to let yourself be objective and not be judgmental and ashamed. Because what happens is if you look at how much money you owe or how much money you're spending, or we have a lot of negative emotions around money, and if you look at how much you have or don't have in the bank, it can very quickly shut you down and put so much negative emotions in you that you never look at it again. And that will just create this vicious cycle where month after month it just gets worse instead of getting better because you don't want to think about it, you won't look at it. And so what you want to do is try to, as much as you can, reprogram how you think about money so you like thinking about it or you like looking at it. And so really focusing on those green numbers, looking at as much as you can, oh, I did better, or I can do better here.
That makes me think of that meme that you see all the time of the when you check your bank account.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's me. When I hold my breath to check my bank account, and I'm Did I forget about a bill? And hold my breath.
Yep.
Yeah, they did a study a while ago, and they do lots of studies on Americans and how we think about our money. And they said they found, I forget who it was that did it, but they found that basically the majority of Americans wouldn't be able to find an extra $400 in an emergency. And that like an emergency of an extra $400 in a given month would be too much.
Yep.
Which is, and they'd have to be going into debt, putting on a credit card or asking for, a loan or something like that, which is, really makes you think about, do I have an emergency account? How much is in my savings? And for me, like, that's one of the positive motivators is knowing that I have kind of a cushion, knowing that, oh, my savings account is there. And, I
What's a
have that
savings account?
right?
So one of the things that I think is super helpful is so two things is debt consolidating, but knowing what to use. So I used American Consumer Credit Counseling that they basically talk to the credit card companies on your behalf, and they don't get your debt down, but they get them to reduce the interest rates and to come up with a payment plan. Because I found out from a coworker that he did a different, and this one, they only charged me, I think it's like $5 a month or something as a fee. That's it. Just to maintain it and to pay on my behalf, which is nothing. And I'll be done. I've been in that program for 2 credit cards that I had for like quite a few years, and I'll be done paying that at the end of in the fall of this year. I'm very excited.
It's such a feeling of freedom when you see your debt go down by a certain level, or when you like totally pay it off and you're just like, fuck yeah, I'm free.
But we do have to be careful. So I found out one of my coworkers, he did a debt consolidation. I'm doing air quotes for people who only listen. And they reduced the debt. However, when he finished quote unquote paying off the debt, the government, when it came to tax season, he had to pay more because the way that the government seed it is that was income.
Oh.
Because he spent money that he didn't have.
Ooh.
And so tax season came around and he was like, oh, fuck. So he had to pay taxes on that.
Jeez.
So thank God for, look for basically free debt consolidating if you're going to do that. Or like mint.com, they refer you to different, like you could use a cheaper credit card or whatever, or loans to consolidate. And I did that for a huge card I had. I took out a loan with Lending Club, which is really good, to basically consolidate my debt and so that I wouldn't have to pay such ridiculous interest. I'm paying really large amounts of money every month, but better to get it out. I want it out. Gone.
Get out.
I'm ready to start having money to save.
Looking at consolidation and refinancing, those are both really good options for managing debt and for reducing the amount of time that you have to pay it down and to live with it. And you can really save yourself. You have to read some of the fine lines, but if you can refinance or consolidate student loans, credit cards in particular, those are 2 really big ones, refinancing homes. Those can save you tons of money over the years and reduce how long it is that you're paying it down, which is basically saying like, oh, would you like 2 extra years of freedom? Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
And that's a nice, I like thinking about it in those terms of like, oh, I can pay a little bit extra now, or I can go through this application process. And how much is it really going to cost? Maybe it costs a very small credit check, so it gives you a little hit on your credit history or your credit score to apply for refinancing or apply for the new loan. But ultimately, that ability to say, could I lower my rate? Like I refinanced my student loans and was able to consolidate, where instead of having like 6 different payments for different years of school, I have 1 payment and I cut my interest rate in half.
Nice.
Which is a little bit of looking into which banks were offering what at the time.
Cool.
And totally worth it.
Any questions from you, Abby?
I mean, none that are really coming to mind. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I fly blind when it comes to the budgeting world. And as a result, that means not many questions are coming to mind.
Well, here's a question for you, Abby.
All right.
To me, what budgeting comes down to is, what is your priority when it comes to money? What do you think is the most important for you to be spending your money on?
Ooh.
The podcast.
Obviously. Well, at the end of the day, when we're talking, well, I'm a bit of a nomad at heart and just want to like travel and see the world. And I know that is like such a huge priority. Actually, our previous podcast, episode 5, I talked about how I will look at expenses as plane tickets. Like if we had to replace our well pump and I was like, oh, that's a plane ticket to Europe. That sucks. Or I have to get new tires soon. And I'm like, that's a round trip ticket to Europe. That sucks. So I think that is, I mean, at the end of the day, I really should be, a lot more focused on the priorities, the things like making sure I have tires on my cars, or at least tires that are not worn to hell or anything like that. But I'd say when it comes to what I want, what I save for, what I want my money to go towards, at the end of the day, travel is like, boom, there we go.
Yeah, so to me, that is actually one of the best budgeting tools, is focusing on that priority and that motivation and saying, oh, I could buy this little thing that's like, I wasn't a planned expense, like, it would be nice in the moment. And if you're able to combat that and say, well, instead of this, like, new dress or new, like, whatever ticket to something that I really wanted to go do, instead of this, like, new fun thing, you can say, oh, but if I don't buy this, that's money that I can put towards my travel or my end goal or my priority.
Or flying Ashley to Iceland.
So yeah, I feel like I without even knowing it, I was doing kind of sort of a budgety thing where like any big ticket thing or even a small ticket thing, I'd be like, that could have been a plane ticket to like, New Orleans or, Vancouver. So yay. I'm not completely inept when it comes to budgeting.
No, and that's one of the things about budgeting is realizing sometimes you know more than you do, and budgeting is, in the end, it's all about habits and mindset to me. Like spreadsheets are a tool, but it's what you do when you're in the store and there's items in front of you, or you have your money in your hand and you have a decision to make. Because the mindset is what is going to help decide what you do in that moment. And if you have a poor budgeting mindset and you're, feeling really guilty, you're ashamed, you're like splurging, you're like kind of irrational, you're not really thinking through things, you're not prioritizing.
Are you talking about me in my 20s?
That's when you're most at risk, because you're going to do things that you then regret and you're going, I was so stupid. Why did I do that thing?
Amen.
I feel like that sums up like everyone's 20s can be summed up with, that was so stupid. Why did I do that thing?
Yup. Well,
Abby, mindfulness.
yeah.
There we go.
Mindfulness.
It's a yoga. Think about budgeting as like budgeting is just a tool for mindfulness and prioritizing and really, making your intention about what am I doing with my money right now.
Boom. Just made it all about my day job. I love it.
I feel like the budgeting kind of philosophy that would make the most sense to a yoga teacher.
It really does. Like budgeting as a mindset and mindfulness, like that honestly clicks so much more than any spreadsheet or numbers or anything like that. I avoid that like the plague, but keeping it more like a mindset thing, like there you go.
Yeah, you're not going to carry a spreadsheet with you into the store. You're going to carry your mindset and the thoughts that you have and the emotions you have around your money and your credit card when you pull it out at the checkout.
There we go. I love it.
Me, my mindset is, have all my bills been paid? And do I have enough money for food and gas? And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, you're in the mindset right now of, I need to make ends meet.
Yep.
And I need to make sure all of my obligations are covered, which is that mindset of making sure that your obligations are covered is a mindset of its own, because you're going, I'm going to forfeit these other things that I would love to do because ultimately I need to do this other thing.
Yeah.
And so you're really the most responsible one out of all of us right here.
There you go.
I really have no choice. It's really of like, sometimes it's unfortunately very, especially because I had to pay a lot in taxes this year, a lot of money that I don't have. And so I'm behind on paying certain people that I love very much. And it's just like, shoveling water right now, but just hoping that if I just work my ass off this summer and say yes to every freaking dinner party and overtime, I can, get my head above water just a little bit.
Yeah, you are the biggest hustler that I think I've ever known. Like,
For real.
Like, do like 3 different jobs in the same week that I'm like, when do you have time for all of these things? Which I have so much respect for.
Sleep? What's that?
Yeah, I think that mindset too of you're thinking the most long term of all of us, because you're having to think about, I'm taking care of these obligations now so I can have a better life after that. So I can really move forward and I can really do the things that I want to do and have the freedom that I have. So your mindset right now and your goal, your priority is your freedom.
Yeah.
You're an indentured servant, basically.
I am, pretty much. So we're going to start wrapping up. Shannon, if you have to go, I understand.
I'm gonna sign off here. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming on.
For budgeting mindsets and philosophies and overall knowledge, and giving you some tools to think about.
Thank you so much. It really was super helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yay.
All right. You have a good night. Bye.
Night. Bye. Just again, a reminder, everyone, Patreon.
Right? Speaking of money and budgeting.
We're just paying for, places to host our podcast with money I don't have. So if you want to help, it all just adds up of monthly for hosting our podcast. And then, of course, you can follow us on lots of social media platforms.
For real.
Facebook.
Right? Instagram.
You can email us at cheerstoadulting@gmail.com. If you have any constructive criticism, if there's any topics you want to hear about that you haven't heard yet, something you don't know much about and you're curious, maybe we have that information.
Or maybe we don't, but we know people who do, or we're willing to do the research.
Please go on iTunes, rate, review, subscribe.
Right.
It really helps. It'll get our numbers up there and get us out there.
And seriously, we're such a little guy that every single review, every single subscriber counts. Like, if you don't think if you're going into like the voting booth, sometimes you're like, my vote doesn't count. Like, this counts. Trust me. Every single review, every single subscription counts.
Oh, and I know I've said it almost every episode, but I finally can say, hey guys, we have a website.
What's up?
Yeah, we do. Thank you, Vern, for creating our
Thank
website.
you.
Finally. It's very bare bones right now, so we got to flood it with a little more content.
We'll get there.
It exists. If you go to cheerstoadulting.com, you'll find us. Yay. Thank you to all of our international listeners.
For real.
Racking up. Tell all your other friends that, we have one in India,
Right? And
Canada, Germany, Sweden,
Jamaica. I think
Jamaica, Australia, Brazil. So thank you to all of our international listeners. I don't know why you're listening.
We appreciate it,
We
though.
appreciate it. We thank you. Thank you to all the people that we don't know and aren't related to us in America that are listening to us.
Right? Honestly, I feel like I'm always so shocked when I find out that an actual stranger is listening to this, that they're not connected. Like, wait a minute, you're not my friend, you're not a family member, you don't know Ashley. Like, wait, really?
Yeah.
This is awesome. Yay.
So I know
Thank
that
you.
this is like not our funniest episode, but it's very informational. And
I did
that's
talk about
important.
chicken shit, though.
You did talk about chicken shit. Right, so we're gonna end our episode with the obligatory another shot of alcohol, another test tube shot.
Because these are delicious.
They are delicious.
This is
Abby's
really
not going
dangerous. Like, right? All right.
anywhere. Skål.
Skål. Ooh.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To adulting.
Cheers to adulting.